What's up, people? I am back. I'm here to continue my pretty much my final. This will be the final Rush Hour video. So we just did Rush Hour 1 and 2 earlier, or the other day. So now we're on Rush Hour 3. To me, this is the funniest one. I can understand some people saying the first one's the best one, and I probably agree. But to me, I find this one to be the funniest one. I remember seeing this one in theaters when it came out because this came out August, if I remember right. Yes, August of 2007. And I remember seeing this in theaters and just loving it. And I just think to me, what made it great was Lee and Carter's dynamic by this point, because it's the third one. They know each other so well, and I actually thought the villain was a nice step up from the second one, because the only real weak part of the second film to me is the villain. Hold on, I can fix this. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, never mind. But yeah, I do feel like the villain in this, Kenji, who you might recognize him from, I think he's in 47 Ronin. He's in a lot of kind of kung fu ninja movies, and he's Scorpion from the recent trash Mortal Kombat film. I'll admit, he's one of the only few good parts. So he's the bad guy in this, and I thought he did a good job. I like the way they had him and Lee tied together. I think what made it work too, because they tried doing that with Ricky Tan in the second one, but it was done better here because you see Kenji throughout the film. He's not like and they didn't do the whole fake death angle, so he's like a force in a sense throughout the film, and I think that's why it works. Antagonizing Lee and stuff. So Carter is fucking funny in this. I would say of the three, he's the funniest in this one. Carter has so many good, funny lines in this movie. And I think this movie continues with the quote unquote insensitive jokes. It's just a funny movie. So I would give this one, before we even get started, I'd give this one out of 10 like a 9 for sure. So I'm gonna just picking something up. But anyway, so let's get started. This film opens up. We see Carter, who's now a traffic stop car. You get this funny scene of him singing. I don't know the exact song, but it's. I'll admit, I'll give Chris Tucker this. Dude's actually a talented singer, and you get this funny gag where these girls crash into this car, and to use his power, he tries to set up a date between him and the both of them. So he calls Lee, who's with Ambassador Han. It's also mentioned that this is set, I think, 3 years after Rush Hour 2. And what happened to Isabella was Carter ended, I'll just spoil it. Carter ends up accidentally shooting her, so she ends up having to leave the force, and her and the agency took her back when she got well, so Lee is pretty much single now. So Lee blows off Carter, takes Ambassador Han to the city to do some speech, and this is where we have Max von Sydow, who I actually thought was pretty good in this. He's the secret bad guy, and they're gonna announce the whereabouts of Shai Shen and to mention the triads, but then Ambassador Han gets shot. Then you get this cool scene of Lee chasing the shooter while Carter hears about the assassination and decides to drive over there, kind of steal the girl's ride and drive over there. So you see Lee chasing the shooter, and when he finally confronts the shooter, it's his brother Kenji, long lost brother Kenji, and Lee obviously hesitates to shoot him. So Kenji ends up getting away. Then we have a scene at the hospital where we meet Su Young again, but now she's much older. And then she pretty much asks him to go to her karate school, to get some letter or something. and she asks them to promise her to help her find her father's killer. They agree. This scene at the karate school is probably one of the funniest scenes in the movie because you get this big ass Asian dude beating the shit out of like both Lee and Carter, and it's pretty funny. I'll admit this one is very much more slapstick humor, like where they're getting beat up and stuff, and they're like it. I think I usually don't like slapstick humor because I have actually heard this as a complaint for this one. They're like they overdo the slapsticky humor where everyone's getting hurt and everyone's tripping and stuff. But I actually think they do it in this in a way that it's not annoying. I'll admit I usually don't like that type of humor, but I thought it was done well here. Then we see then we learn from the master that the triads already came and searched the lockers. You get this funny scene though of fucking Carter trying to ask what this teacher's name, and his name is you. Like, no, you him. It's pretty funny. It's probably the one of the funniest moments in this movie. So Carter and Lee go back to the hospital. They stop in another assassination attempt on Han, and they learn that the triads who try to kill him are from France. We get this funny scene with a nun who has to like learn the like basically has to so yeah, they have to get an interpreter to get what the guy's saying. Get this funny scene, the other guy talking shit to Lee and Carter. It's a pretty funny scene all around. Then they meet up with Mr. Renard, and they're gonna take his family because they want Su Young to go with him and his family because it's too dangerous. And then the car blows up. Lee and Carter end up going to France, and we get a funny scene on the plane with the both of them. This is where we learn about what happened to Isabella. Then they arrive at the French hospital, and for this French commissioner beat them up with fucking like yellow books, and I guess does something up their butt. It was pretty funny. It's implied. Then they meet up with this taxi driver who obviously doesn't like Americans, and you get this. I think this scene's pretty like. There's so many funny scenes in this. Like it's one of those like that's why I think I like it so much is because there's funny things after funny things like the American like and Carter goes crazy when the guy just fucking says shit about Halle Berry. Fucking grabs the gun, makes him sing the American national anthem, which this was at a time when you could actually like the national anthem. You weren't there was none of this kneeling trash and shit. But anyway, that's a fucking side point. But so Lee and Carter go to the Franklin D. Roosevelt, the location, which is this like casino. Then they see this Carter talks to this girl who we learn is her name is Genevieve, who we learn later is the list, but then Carter seemingly hooks up with this girl. Get this funny gag of Carter, because it turns out the girl works for Kenji, tries to kill Lee, but Carter's here, he's thinking they're fucking. Get this funny title like Crouching Tiger, Don't Hide That Dragon. I'll admit that part killed me. Fucking bee. I don't know why a fucking bee's over here. Sorry about that. But it was a funny fucking scene. So then Carter and Lee escape, get into the taxi driver's car, and they're getting chased. You get this cool kind of chase scene. They take out these guys on bikes, but then they end up getting captured by Kenji's men. Where this is where Carter realizes that Kenji is Lee's brother. Lee and Carter make an escape for it through the sewage. Lee and Carter at this point start arguing, and pretty much Lee asks Carter, "You gotta go." He wants to do this on his own, and Carter's trying to say, "No, I'm your brother, bro." And then Lee's like, "No, you're not my brother." Then we get this fun, like, I'll admit, probably a really good song by Elton John called I'm trying to think of this. Sorry seems to be the hardest word. I think that's the song's name. It's a really good song, actually. So, Max von Sydow's character meets up with Lee and tells him that Shai Shen is a list. while Carter ends up seeing Genevieve at this performance thing, get this funny gag where he plays like a gay um, French artist because he ends up going into the dressing room of the women. It's pretty funny. Like I think all around, like this movie's just funny and it flows well. Like it's not boring. You get going pretty quick, and I would definitely say it's better than the second one. It's almost. I think this one's almost as good as the first. Carter and Lee's dynamic in this is great. Then Lee and Carter meet back up, and they basically have to figure out a plan to divert away because there are Kenji's men are there to kill Genevieve, so Carter has to cause a diversion. And we get this song moment where Carter and Lee do a cover of "The Closer I Get to You." It's actually, I gotta say it, man. Chris Tucker is actually a fucking good singer. I will admit, and even Jackie Chan, like when he sang, I'm like, wow, it's actually good voice singing. I like Chris Tucker is a funny dude all around. So yeah, Lee and Carter managed to make an escape back to the hotel. So yeah, they making their escape. Carter hooks up with Genevieve. All this is happening. The assassin chick we saw earlier tries to assassinate Genevieve, but she manages to escape, but Genevieve ended up getting hit. So they go to trying to remember what the taxi driver's name was. George, yeah, George. George takes him to his house really quick. And this is where it's revealed Genevieve is the list and she's bald. Get this funny fucking scene where because fucking Carter thinks it's a guy. He's like, oh my, it's a man. It's crying games. If you've ever seen that movie, yeah. Then makes a he calls himself Brokeback Carter. I fucking died. I was fucking dying at this part. But yeah, but it turns out it's a list and she offered to do it. Then I think after this, then they take her to Mr. Renard. But it turns out Renard's actually working with Kenji. This is because Renard already knew that she was he knew Genevieve was already the list, so that's why they figured out this guy's a bad guy. So I like the reveal that he was a bad guy. Then they get a call that Soo Young got captured and basically tells Lee to bring Genevieve with them, and this is where we get the final face off at the Eiffel Tower. And then turns out Carter was actually disguised as Genevieve. And then we get like a sword fight between with Lee and Kenji. I actually admit this was pretty good. I'll admit the only downside compared to the second one is I think the second one had all around better choreography. I think the choreography in this one was fine, but just the second one was just perfect. But it was fine in this. So yeah, Carter is fighting like the goons while Lee is fighting Kenji. While Lee and Kenji are fighting, Carter tries to save Soo Young. Lee and Kenji end up on the side of the Eiffel Tower, and basically Kenji tells Lee, you gotta let go and let me die. And then, so it was like almost like an honorable way, in a way. It was like, I'm not gonna have us both fucking die, so he kind of sacrifices himself. His death's pretty brutal though. He falls through like a fucking thing. Carter ends up saving Lee and killing that girl from earlier. It was pretty brutal though. He fucking kicks her into the fucking this spinning thing. Lee and Carter make their getaway on the French flag through water, and Max von Sydow has them cornered with a gun, but George comes from behind and shoots him, and then they punch Carter and Lee punch the French officer who's trying to take credit. Oh, we all did it together. It was a pretty funny scene. I fucking love this film. I think as much as I might love it as much as the first. I find this film super funny. I just love the pacing, and I love the way it brings it back in the end. Like, you know, if you remember, the first one ended with, you know, war. This one ends with war. Because I think this one was, like, always intended to be the last one, and I'm cool with that. I mean, if they were to do a Rush Hour 4, and, like, the original cast comes back, I could be open to it, but I'm honestly cool with this one being the last one. I think it ends it perfectly. To me, it's the funniest one. There's so many funny lines in this. The Brokeback Carter one gets me every time. Ugh, shit. I fucking love this one, though. I think Kenji was a good bad guy. He was actually in the whole film. He wasn't like. Because that was my only weak point for Rush Hour 2, is I feel like the villain could have been better. But especially if you're going to have him have this, like, tie to Lee, they should have did more. Like, the scene with Kenji and Lee were always good. I always love those moments in the movie. And the choreography, anytime Jackie does the fun choreography, I love it. His dynamic with Carter is so much better in this. Well, because by this point, they had already done like two films, and even like, I think of the three, like, because all three of them always end with like a blooper reel. I think Rush Hour 3 has the funniest blooper reel. I mean, even the last one. After all we've been through, Rush Hour 1, Rush Hour 2, it's like, fucking love this film. So, I'm happy to say I saw this one in theaters. I wish I had seen the other ones, but I was only 2 when the first one came out, and then the second one was like, I was like 5, and I maybe just was not into those movies at the time. So, but yeah, this one's definitely a 9 out of 10. I would definitely recommend this one. It works as an end to the trilogy. So yeah, so I'm happy to have done these movies. I think all around, all the Rush Hour movies are just fun movies. These were at a time, even in the third one, you could still make fun of shit. No one had to stick up their fucking ass. Not everyone was an offended pussy. You know, so this was at a time where you could just have fun. So, and that's why I don't know if I want a fourth one, because I just don't know if it would be as, unless like it'd have to be like made by the same people. Like that's like the only thing I would accept. So, yeah, tomorrow I'm gonna switch it around. Like I mentioned yesterday, I was gonna do the Freddy's Dead, but I'll save that for Thursday. Tomorrow I'll do another review. It's gonna be a random review this week. We're gonna be reviewing the Jet Li classic, Romeo Must Die. So I'm gonna be watching that tomorrow, and I'm gonna review it. I think that one's a fun one. I think that's probably the best Romeo and Juliet story ever, like especially in a movie. So yeah, I'm gonna cheers to Rush Hour 3. But other than that, fuck Warner Brothers, fuck Disney, fuck LeBron, fuck Joy Reid, fuck Kevin Smith, and fuck Joe Biden. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow with my Romeo Must Die review. But yeah, peace!